On the coldest night of the year, a small village outside Jerusalem closed its doors before sunset because everyone had heard the same frightening rumor. A group of thieves was moving from village to village, stealing food, money, and animals from anyone too weak to stop them. At the edge of the village lived a poor widow named Miriam with her 8-year-old son Eli. They had almost nothing left except a small bag of flour, one clay lamp, and an old wooden table that had belonged to Miriam's husband before he died. That evening, Eli looked at his mother and asked, "Will the thieves come here too?" Miriam forced a smile and said, "There is nothing here for them to take." But she knew that was not true. The little flour they had was supposed to keep them alive for the next several days. As darkness covered the village, a stranger appeared on the road. His robe was covered with dust, his sandals were worn, and his face looked tired from a long journey. It was Jesus. He walked toward the widow's house and gently knocked on the door. Miriam froze. No one visited after dark anymore. She held Eli close and asked, "Who is there?" A calm voice answered, "A traveler who needs only a little warmth." Miriam opened the door carefully. She did not know who he was, but something in his eyes made her feel safe. She invited him inside, lit the small lamp, and apologized because she had no proper meal to offer. Jesus looked at the small bag of flour and said, "Make food for your son first." Miriam quietly replied, "Tomorrow there may be nothing left." Jesus smiled and said, "Then let tomorrow worry about itself tonight." She prepared 3 small pieces of bread, one for Eli, one for the stranger, and half of one for herself. They had barely started eating when dogs began barking outside. Then came the sound everyone feared. Horses, footsteps, and men shouting. The thieves had entered the village. Doors were being kicked open one by one. People screamed, but nobody came outside to help their neighbors because everyone was trying to protect their own family. Miriam blew out the lamp and whispered, "Please hide. They will kill anyone who resists." Jesus remained seated. The footsteps came closer. Suddenly, the wooden door burst open, and 3 armed men entered. Their leader looked around the tiny house and laughed. "Where is your money?" Miriam said, "We have none." He saw the flour bag and reached for it. Eli rushed forward and grabbed the bag with both hands. "Please, sir, that is all we have." The thief pushed the boy aside and lifted the bag. Then Jesus stood up. He did not shout. He simply said, "Put it back." The men turned and laughed. Their leader stepped toward him and said, "And who are you to command me?" Jesus looked at the man for a long moment and asked, "When was the last time someone called you by your real name, Nathan?" The room became silent. The thief's face changed instantly. None of the other men knew that name. Years earlier, before becoming a thief, Nathan had been a farmer with a wife and a daughter. During a drought, he had lost his land, and later sickness took his family. Anger had turned him into the man standing in that house. Nathan raised his weapon, but his hand was shaking. "How do you know me?" he whispered. Jesus stepped closer and said, "You have spent years punishing strangers for the pain you could not defeat." Nathan's eyes filled with anger. "You know nothing about me." Jesus replied, "I know you still carry your daughter's small blue ribbon inside the leather pouch around your neck." Nathan suddenly grabbed the pouch beneath his clothes. His men stared at him in confusion. Jesus continued, "You kept it because part of you remembers the man you were before suffering convinced you that mercy was weakness." For the first time in years, Nathan looked afraid, not of soldiers or death, but of remembering who he used to be. Eli slowly stood up from the floor. Instead of hiding behind his mother, he broke his small piece of bread in half and held one part toward the thief. Miriam whispered, "Eli, no." But the boy said, "He looks hungry too." Nathan stared at the bread. The same child he had pushed down was offering him food. His weapon slowly fell from his hand and hit the floor. One of the thieves shouted, "What are you doing? Take the food and come." Nathan looked at Jesus. Jesus said only, "You can still choose which man walks out of this door." Nathan stood completely still. Then he returned the flour bag to the table. He ordered his men to leave the village. They refused at first, but Nathan turned toward them and said, "Tonight, we take nothing." Before leaving, he placed a bag of stolen coins on Miriam's table. Jesus immediately picked it up and handed it back. "Return it to the people you took it from." Nathan nodded slowly. By sunrise, something unbelievable had happened. The villagers opened their doors and found their stolen animals returned, their food placed back outside their home, and small bags of coins left near the houses of the poorest families. Nobody understood why. When Miriam woke, the stranger was gone. On the wooden table lay only the blue ribbon Nathan had carried for years. Months later, travelers began telling stories about a former thief who now protected poor families on dangerous roads and helped farmers recover stolen animals. Miriam never saw Nathan again, but every winter, when Eli asked her about that night, she always gave the same answer. The greatest miracle was not that Jesus protected our food. The miracle was that he entered a house with 3 thieves and left without destroying a single enemy, because by morning, one of those enemies no longer existed.